Welcome to this week's episode of Lagniappe. I'm your host, Rob Holbert, and along with several folks, Ashley, who's not paying attention.
Ashley Trice, I was
You weren't.
paying attention.
We're not.
Grant McLaughlin.
Clearly not.
Scotty Johnson. Kyle Hamrick.
Tommy Hicks.
Scotty Johnson. Okay, we're all back.
You called Jason this week and also Scott Donaldson.
Scott Donaldson, yes.
It's okay.
That's a Sam Donaldson reference, I guess, maybe. You don't remember who Sam Donaldson was. He was a famous newsman back in the day. He was,
I'll take it.
known for being a very tough questioner.
And that seems apt.
Kind of a lot of people thought he was a jerk, but I thought he was pretty good at what he did. Anyway, we've had an interesting week here at Lagniappe. We've had since our last pod, we obviously last week Tommy Tuberville had released his tax documents for the hearing that is going to be coming up before the Alabama GOP, and we had published those. What we got, the redacted documents, we published those online. We wrote a story about it. And then something weird happened. Scotty Johnson, tell us what weird happened.
Mr. Donaldson.
Yeah, we started hearing murmurings of, hey, you can read those documents based on the barcode at the top.
Yes.
And the barcode at the top is, you see them on shipping labels and driver's license. It's basically taking all the data in the document or the license or whatever and just putting it into a different format to read rapidly.
Now, I will say that all of us were Thursday years old when we found that out, right? I did not know that was.
I had no idea.
I actually saw the barcode and was like, I don't know what these are, but it just seemed weird that they're there.
Yeah.
I thought maybe that was like some redacted thing as well. I wasn't really paying attention to it.
Yeah, I've never paid attention to those.
So we started getting information had come to light, as the dude would say, that there was coming to, people were sending stuff, hey, you can see these, and sending us numbers.
Claiming that these were the numbers behind the blacked out redactions.
Right. And so we, as journalists, we have to verify such things. So we went to any number of websites online that you can easily do this. It takes like 5 minutes. And you can look at them, and boom, there's the numbers.
Yeah. And everything. Social security numbers, driver's license numbers.
Right. Everything. So we quickly, you actually, Scott, were the first one that said, we need to take these things down because all of his personal stuff's on there. We've got to do what his staff couldn't do, which is redact the barcodes.
Yeah.
So we redacted the barcodes off of them for them. You're welcome, Tommy. And put them back up without sans that information. But we do at that point have all the information that was on there, and we're convinced it was and had verified that it was accurate.
Yeah,
and
took a while to get it all formatted or whatever, and then it took twice as long to actually go through and kind of try and figure out what it all meant.
Right. So you started looking at comparing it to numbers that were released through the Senate. Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cross-referencing in between these Senate numbers that they disclose their financial income and sources and all that.
Because you can start to see numbers there that are disclosed, and they say this is this, and you go, oh well, here's this number on
specifically his blindside residuals from that movie.
Yes,
and exact numbers.
$1,900 worth of blindside residuals.
So
which is pretty good for what, a 20-year-old movie.
Yeah,
and he was on there
for a cameo.
He was. He just basically walked through and made a couple comments, but that was about it.
Yeah, him and Nick Saban was there too, I think.
Yeah. Oh, Nick was in there. Yeah, they comment about how good looking Nick is. Yeah.
So, that was one way. I think 2019 and 2020 tax returns, both the only state income that he reported to the state were those residuals from the movie. That was the thing. That was the thing when they sent their tax forms out to begin with. The things that was odd to me to begin with was the first line. It says state withholding, and for 18, 19, and 20, there was nothing in that line. They didn't redact anything in that line, so it was clearly empty. And then, so we started seeing, when we saw the numbers, I'm going to write off 18 because he voted in Florida in 18, and he still had a homestead exemption. At this point,
I don't think he can claim 18.
It's unnecessary as well. I mean,
right.
Given the timeline, he needs to establish residency by November 2019.
Right. So you look at 19 and his tips, wages, and salary or whatever claimed in Alabama is $1,900, and his adjusted gross income for Alabama is $11,806. That's not very much money.
Yeah.
That's especially for a guy who's gotten millions of dollars in walk-off money within 3 years prior.
Yeah, and 2019, especially when the returns also include his federal adjusted income as well. And when especially that, I know 2018 numbers, not that important, especially because it was filed part-time, but 2019 is filed full-time.
Full-time.
And both show a massive gap between federal AGI and the state AGI,
Correct.
which was a red flag immediately for both of us. We wanted to actually bounce this off a CPA, and we talked about it with some other CPAs in the background, but that 2019 year probably would have generated an automatic flag from the Alabama Department of Revenue, because it was filed full-time. And I asked James Thomason from Accelerated Accounting, who we interviewed, and I asked him, would it have generated a flag if this was filed part time?
Right.
He said probably not.
Or you could, as an out of state resident, you can do it. So there are numerous things that can be done, and so that's what you get into with this whole issue is, if you are a Florida resident, you don't file income tax. They don't have a state income tax. So it is possible to file in Alabama some income that you earned in Alabama and not be a full-time resident. Now, if you check the box, if you file the Form 40 that says you're a full-time resident and check the box that you're a full-time resident, and then you're claiming, if you're not filing taxes on the rest of it, all your if you say you were a full-time resident in Alabama, all your income has to come through Alabama. Right. It all has to be accounted for in Alabama. That is, you can't say, oh, well, part of it goes to Florida. You could, if you had another state, say Georgia, that has an income tax, and you had income in Georgia and you filed some income tax in Georgia, that would be reflected on your Alabama. Yeah. If you're an Alabama resident, that would be reflected on your Alabama return, and you would get some sort of a credit for what you paid in Georgia.
Yeah. There were no credits for income.
Right, because Florida doesn't have an income tax. So there's two things here. Either he had a lot of accounting tricks and whatever else, and he didn't make any money.
That's fair.
Which is possible. Or he didn't declare it all and used Florida as some of it.
Yeah.
Those are things that we don't know.
Yeah.
But when you start looking at his numbers in 2020, they go up some. They go up, although his federal AGI claims negative $95,000. Mm-hmm. But then when you get to 2021, when he definitely when he's definitely filing everything through Alabama, his income.
Because you see his Senate.
Yes, he's working in Senate, and you see the Senate income, and he's filing everything in Alabama. His income is over $600,000.
Yeah.
And it just goes up from there.
Yeah. In 2019 and 2023, there are gaps in the state and federal AGI that are not reconciled within the numbers shown. So there was no deductions or anything closing those gaps between the values. So that more or less means that there was, there's income not accounted for. There's deductions not accounted for on his state returns that he's filing on his federal returns, which can happen in specific situations and rates and whatever. But we needed more information, and we asked them for that.
Right.
We know what this looks like, and if people could read this the wrong way, we asked this campaign. We reached out and said, "Can you guys fill in the gaps here?"
Yeah, and that's where we get to the fun part of this is that
instead of filling the gaps,
when you approached them and said, "Hey guys, these numbers are available, and we see these numbers. What do they mean?" They lost their minds.
Yeah.
Which I am not surprised at that reaction.
Well, I mean, I think they lost their minds primarily because they realized what idiots they look like. Yes,
that they had failed to redact that part.
Yeah, that they just put the numbers out there.
Insistent that there was no unredacted information.
I mean, you had someone call up and scream at you. I won't name his name at this point, but if he keeps running his mouth, I will. But you had that individual also wrote to me and told me that we were unethical and illegal, and wrote me a book about how terrible we were, which I found highly amusing being lectured by that person. But the gist of it was, so when you talked to them on Thursday and told them this was an issue, they scream and holler, et cetera, et cetera.
I gave them specific numbers. Yeah. I'm sure that told them that I did have something. And I mean, the messaging almost immediate was that something illegal had happened.
Tommy's attorney, who had back in the early 2000s almost been disbarred because he accessed the NCIC computer. He helped access that to help try to overturn an election. So he was that's his campaign attorney. So you get that you figure out what kind of guy that is. Then wrote us a nasty letter on Saturday. Yes, we got Saturday afternoon. We got a letter, a cease and desist letter.
Not to remove the documents,
right?
Not to remove the tax returns from our website. We still haven't been asked to do that, but it was to remove the numerical information from his tax returns, which is apparently the only thing they care about. I don't know why, but
well, I think what they wanted, and I mean, this is what I think all along. I mean, if you look at what they did, they released these tax documents, which they thought they had redacted and had not done properly. They released them to Ken McFeeters, their political opponent in this argument,
without him subpoenaing,
without him asking for it, without anything. Yes, they released it to him, and they didn't send Ken and say, you may not release these are secret, blah, blah, blah. So of course Ken sent them to everybody. And he sent them out, and we published them. Yeah. Everybody wrote stories. Everybody wrote stories about how he had released them. Yeah. And they were tap dancing in the street about how this.
Tuberville was interviewed they were doing high fives and saying, they just had to come after me. This puts it all to rest.
I mean, they were like, domino, bitch. Yeah. This is it. We got it. And this is it. This is it.
It was a slam dunk. I mean, it was like a,
Domino bitch.
Domino.
It was Tuberville,
there it is.
It was Tuberville posterizing.
That's it.
Tuberville posterizing all the critics for the last 3-4 years who have been, decrying all this stuff about his tax returns. And he just releases them, and it's like this explosive
So
thing.
Here it is. Here's my tax returns. I'm tired of listening to all this, blah, 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 blah. But, okay, I don't want to get too far ahead, because as they did that, they also had a statement that they released, which, I mean, this is how screwed up his team is. This is what a bunch of screw-ups they are. They release his documents with unredacted. Then they put out a statement that tells everybody that all of the vacation money that was spent, all the money that was spent in the Florida Panhandle was vacation money.
Yeah.
And he was quote unquote an escape from DC.
Vacation escapes.
Right.
Yeah.
So they just admitted that he was taking vacations on taxpayer and campaign money, both of which are illegal. So that's what kind of guys you're dealing with.
They also went on the record trying to claim he moved no later than 2018 again. I mean, filing in August 1 in 2018 claiming he's a resident, and he voted by mail. Yeah. In Florida in the 2018 general election, and there's articles out there where he's talking about it at the time. I voted straight party Republican in that way. So
but then later this week, one of his spokespeople told another publication that he finished moving in 2019.
There's some backpedaling happening.
That it took him 8 months to move.
Well, don't forget the column that came out.
Craziness.
Don't forget the Trip Skipper column that came out.
Trip
it was like
Skipper. Yeah, is that a real person? That sounds like an AI guy. He sounds like AI. I don't even
tripping
believe.
Or are you skipping?
I don't believe he's real.
That sounds like a good old Southern name.
Skip Tripper, Rip Tripper. I don't know.
I mean, that guest column on online was like, I was there the day he moved.
That he helped him move in.
Yeah.
I should put the dishes up. I'm like, were they paper plates?
I mean, did you? All I want to know was his underwear there. Yeah, that's the main thing. But anyway, this is where we are at this point with them. They write this letter to us with threats from this Burt Jordan guy who's somehow still a lawyer.
We have 48 hours to comply.
Bless you. And we have 48 hours. They sent us on Saturday afternoon. We got 48 hours to do this. So they're going to file injunctions, and they're going to sue us, and they're going to do, civil litigation for all these terrible things that have happened, and the emotional distress that has been caused to the coach,
we caused, apparently.
That the coach has been caused by his redactile dysfunction. So this is. Then they go on. We go on. Now we're on. Now it's Wednesday. They haven't filed anything. They haven't seen anything. I mean, this is one of the things. If they're just this, if all this terrible stuff is happening to them, why are they moving so slowly? It's just. I think it's nothing but a bunch of hot air, man. I mean, it's just this is somebody maybe somewhere in that organization of people who don't seem to know what they're doing, maybe just like Googled this sort of thing and realized that time and time and time again that newspapers have published information like this and won. In fact, Donald Trump sued the New York Times a couple of years ago over his tax returns that were flat out stolen from the IRS.
Right. And that person who stole them went to jail.
But right.
Yes.
And they gave them to the New York Times. They gave them to ProPublica as well. They gave other stuff to ProPublica. That person has been put in jail for doing that. He violated the law.
Should.
But when Trump sued the New York Times for running those, what he got was a bill for $400,000 to pay for the New York Times legal team. Mm-hmm. So, that's not, this kind of stuff. This is not even that. This is them
these
sending it out.
These were not accessed illegally.
No, I think somebody said the other day, or maybe you said it, Scott, this is like the equivalent of redacting out the English part and sending sending the exact same thing in Spanish. As long as somebody knows how to read it, it's right there. And that's what they did.
And I said, yours, okay. Mine was, no, that wasn't mine. Mine was if the marker wasn't dark enough.
Right.
It's still
that's a good example.
That's the same thing. We've seen that before in life when people have redacted and used the marker and you're like, okay, I can see it.
Or you can still read the imprint of the pen or something.
Yeah. It's redacting is, it's a lost art, maybe. I don't know. But I don't know. It's just the whole thing is ridiculous. And, we've gotten now this week, we've had Tommy Tuberville send us a cease and desist letter. Barry Moore has sent 3 different publications cease and desist letter for asking about his military service, including he sent one to Josh Moon before Josh Moon even wrote a story, which is insane. So I don't think these guys are losing their minds with this stuff. I don't.
The reaction is almost worse than the story itself, especially on the Barry Moore stuff. It's just like, he was in the National Guard. Got it. I know there's like some question about his rank or, maybe inflating that. But why not just say that and you send these cease and desist letters out? Well, that just makes you look more suspicious.
Well, it's what it does. It's like, nobody in Tuberville's camp, they're not saying, oh, your numbers are wrong.
Right.
Or, oh,
or this is what actually happened.
This is what it really means. They're not explaining the numbers. Right. They're not explaining how he got filed $11,800 in Alabama in 2019 and claims he lived here. There may be an explanation. I'm not an accountant. I don't know. We have, all those ProPublica stories were about billionaires who don't pay any taxes. So, there are accounting tricks. Perhaps that's what it was. Tell us what they were.
You would have to have his federal return.
Which I think that's, and that's where we are. And I think that's why the giant freak out, because they know a lawsuit's coming. They know it's going to come. They know Doug Jones is going to sue for this. And now they have these numbers, and if they compare them to his federal numbers,
which they will certainly subpoena.
If they can get his federal numbers and they compare them to these, and they are not anywhere near one another, well, then he's got a problem.
Yeah.
Because then he looks like he may have been engaged in tax fraud because he claimed to live in Alabama on that tax document and didn't file it all. Now, if it all comes out the straight way, then okay, that's fine. These are, people can get upset about it and say, you guys shouldn't have done this or whatever. The reality of it is he has used these tax documents as proof of his residency, which has been at issue. this whole time, and he's asking the people of Alabama to vote for him for governor based upon the fact that he meets the requirements, and these documents show he meets the requirements. And, I think it was all fun and games for them to put out a document that doesn't mean anything, that's all heavily redacted and you can't see anything.
I don't care if he gives me 10 years of Alabama tax returns. There's no way I still believe that he lives in Alabama, even with tax returns.
You have to have amnesia on a weekly basis not to remember all the things that are here. That you have his, driver's license issue, his homestead exemption that he didn't have on that house, and he's not on the homestead exemption on the house in Auburn until 2024. You have these tax documents.
Look, I'm a woman. If my husband said, honey, we're going to go live in a 3-1 house in beautiful Auburn instead of our $4 million beachfront mansion on 30A, I would be like, no, honey, no.
I don't think
just as that. That's all I need to know.
You go be governor. I'm going to stay here.
That's all I need to know.
But I mean, it's one thing after the other. And I mean, then Scott, you went through all of his travel records. I mean, it's obvious that he has spent the vast majority of his time there. When he's not in Washington, he spends his time in Florida.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I think, just it's insulting to the voter for us. And I mean, it's like at least go buy $1 million house, just a $1 million house in Mountain Brook to at least make it a little more believable instead of just giving us the finger. That's what I feel like this is.
Yeah. And just to wrap everything into context, the residency challenge, the burden of proof is on the candidate.
Right.
And so he needs evidence showing establishing himself as a resident citizen for 7 years before the election. So he's gone to, like you said, he's gone to his homestead exemption, he's gone to his driver's license, voter registration, and then his tax returns. And the issue is that there is like a contradicting set of evidence for each one of those. He had a Florida driver's license until February 2023, and then voter registration was still active in March 2020, after his primary for Senate, which is interesting. But then and then you got the homestead issue where Tucker was the sworn applicant, his son.
He can't seem to remember where he's supposed to live. I mean, it's like
he voted,
well, that's I don't know. And I mean that Tripper Skipper guy was like, I think it was an administrative oversight about his voting. Administrative oversight? Who does he have someone voting for him? It's administrative oversight. That's not administrative.
Yeah.
That's you voting. But we also in I guess in 2023 or so, he's filed on real estate forms, put the Walton County address as his home residence on legal documents buying property.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he can't remember from one day to the next where he lives. Even a couple of weeks ago when he told people in Auburn that he liked to fly into Auburn for the games, and they went, I live here.
Yeah. 2 to 3 times a year.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, he can't keep up. He can't keep it straight.
A lot of these things, it's like, it's not right or wrong. It's what evidence can establish you. Maybe it turns into a right and wrong issue or illegal issue, or it's what compelling evidence do you have, and does it overpower the evidence against you?
Well, the big question is the ALGOP steering committee just gonna try to continue this?
Right.
And I mean, it's everybody. No one thinks that he lives in Alabama. So if y'all are going to push him through, and then Doug Jones challenges this, and there you might get a judge that says, you know what, this doesn't look like he meets the requirements. He's disqualified. Then they're going to look like a bunch of buffoons.
Well, I mean, he's got that, and he also has this money spent on travel that is an issue. And now, is anybody going to do anything at the federal level? Well, that's how Guy Hunt got booted out of office with that kind of stuff. And, these are, but, you and I have talked about this a lot. We've made this comment about unforced errors with the taxes and whatever. This is an unforced error by the Republican Party.
Yeah,
they had Will Ainsworth
Right. Who has been bored sitting there waiting for years, waiting for Meemaw to get out of the way.
Absolutely no way Will Ainsworth wasn't going to win the governor's office. They didn't need to have Tommy Tuberville come in here.
With all of these issues.
Yeah, but they came in and shoved Will out of the way to put Tommy in, who cannot lock down the most simple thing about the whole part is this is where I live, and
I mean, now he's a more vulnerable candidate than Will Ainsworth would have been. I mean, my in-laws, who are as Republican can be, said, I'm just not voting for governor now.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to end up in Roy Moore 2.0. I mean,
well, they could be. They certainly are helping themselves to it, and that's the thing. And there's a lot of rumors that the Republican committee is going to boot Tuberville out. I find that difficult to believe because they've gone this far.
They've already spent, they've just money, and they really hadn't spent much money because they haven't even advertised.
But I mean, it really is. It's ludicrous when you think about it in the reddest of red states in Alabama that they felt like they needed to do this. Why do we need a celebrity governor when we've had a comatose governor for 10 years, and even a live body, a warm body of Will Ainsworth would have been a huge improvement. I mean, I have nothing against Will Ainsworth. I don't know. He seems like a reasonable person, and I mean, he's conservative. If that's your bent, that's great.
Right.
If it's not your bent, he might not like him.
He just doesn't have these issues to deal with.
But he has none of these issues to deal with. He's clearly he would have had no trouble winning this race. I don't think there would have been. Why was somebody freaking out and saying, we got to have Tommy Tuberville in? I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
I mean, well, it was sort of like we must have someone sports adjacent in all political offices this year because we got to have Feinbaum. We got to have, A.J. McCarron. We got to have, Coach Tuberville.
It's kind of wacko, man. But anyway, I feel like we're sitting here at this point. I don't think any process servers are going to show up today. I don't see it. I looked on Alicourt earlier. I didn't see a filing. I think it's just a lot of bloviating by his people. But if they do sue us, we will absolutely fight it. We were not going to stop reporting. We're not going to stop doing what we do.
They also wanted our sources too. Yeah.
Well, they want to violate
illegal.
They want to violate state law. They want to do all sorts of things.
Discovery goes both ways.
Yes, it does. Look, man, a cease and desist letter is just that. It is worthless. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a bunch of threats. And I will say, I know for a fact we've done our job the way we're supposed to do our job. I know for a fact that we are absolutely legally covered in what we've done and meet every requirement in doing this. And the First Amendment protects everything we've done. So, domino.
And there's a reason it's the first. Yeah. Say that one more time because I should have let you end that segment on that. What was it again, Rob?
Domino, bitch. All right. We're going to take a quick break. Come back. And we are back. We're going to just kind of go around with some hot topics here.
Hot topics.
There we go.
There it is.
Very nice. Tommy, real quick, what do we got going on in the sports world?
A couple of things. Pat White, the former quarterback at Daphne, his number is going to be retired sometime during the season in West Virginia. Very much deserved. He was a great player for them.
Yep.
Really set their program up on a national level. And then Tuesday will be a big day here in town. The Mobile hockey team will announce the nickname for the team, as our intrepid reporter Kyle Hamrick discovered last week.
Yes.
They have filed for a trademark for Mystics again, so it appears that will be the name.
Or it just could be to throw everybody off.
Or it could be a fake out totally, and there'll be what?
The Mobile Trailblades, the Azalea Trailblades. I can't say it. I can't speak properly. Yes. That's the name they should go with.
But also that day is the Mobile Sports Hall of Fame induction, and also the football preview that they have annually, which means that Auburn coach Alex Golesh will be in town, and also Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer, Major Applewhite will be there, Ivan Maisel, Phil Savage, the former executive director of Senior Bowl. So pretty big night for all that stuff.
All right. And then we had last week, Grant was a story that a lot of people have followed, and we had another trial for Carrie Meredith.
Carrie Meredith has now been convicted twice of failing to report alleged sexual misconduct.
She was She is the guidance counselor at
Faith Academy. Yes, and she failed to report alleged sexual misconduct between a soccer coach and a student who was 16 years old at the time, and this was in February 2023. Her lawyer, Jeff Dean, has said she's going to appeal, so we could see a round 3 of this.
And we should point out the coach that had the inappropriate relationship with a student has not even gone to trial.
Allegedly had
it.
He is scheduled to appear in Mobile County Circuit Court in September.
Yeah. So but anyway, at the end of all this, Faith Academy wrote a letter, which we also ran, completely supportive of.
That's right.
Of Miss Meredith. And so that one will keep kind of rolling along, I guess. We'll see where it goes. She got another $500 fine, and she may face some. She could face jail time.
She is again eligible to face jail time. Yeah. But we'll see. The DA's office is going to make a sentencing recommendation, but they are not revealing that until sentencing on I think it's June 24th.
And then, Kyle, tell us about this cover story that we have coming out today.
Yeah, there's a big giant man on the cover, Walter Bellingrath of Bellingrath Gardens.
Pouring coins out of a Coke bottle.
Pouring coins out of a Coke bottle. Seed money. He's pouring coins out of a Coke bottle because he ran a Coca-Cola bottling plant that gave him money to build Bellingrath Gardens, he and his wife. And now we have a new deal where what's left of that massive wealth is going to fund not only the gardens, but 3 private schools.
Well, this has been an ongoing legal fight for decades at this point, I think, right?
Yes, this has been going on for years.
How this money was going to be distributed between these colleges and the Bellingrath Gardens, and so I think they finally come to a conclusion on that.
That's
on
right.
That thing, and so that's what you're writing about.
The colleges get more, but the Bellingrath Gardens, they said that we're still happy to get what we get.
Because the gardens get about $1 million and the schools will get about $4 million.
I think they should have split it.
Or 4
4 total, and they have to split it 3 ways.
I think they should have given Bellingrath more. They deserve it, but.
Makes sense. It's the Bellingrath Gardens.
I mean, come on, But anyway, it's a really great story, and it's a fascinating.
Just the history of Bellingrath Gardens was interesting.
The whole thing.
It's cool stuff.
Well, it's just been one of these weird things. It's been, this lawsuit has been going on for so long and had so many different legs of it, and it's just kind of to find out this has been happening, and it finally just came to a head recently. So.
And I just fell in love with Bessie Bellingrath.
Yeah, there you go. They were a fun couple.
Yeah.
All right, it's a good story. All right, folks, that's all we have for this week. If we're still in business next week and not sued to oblivion, if we're not in jail, we'll be back for the next episode of Lagniappe. Y'all have a great day.
The Lagniappe is a Something Extra publishing production. Executive producers are Rob Holbert and Ashley Trice. Music is by Some Pole Sounds and Electro Animals. Only subscribers like you have access to this podcast. Tell your friends they can sign up at my.lagniappemobile.com. For advertising opportunity, please call 251-450-4466.